Thank you, Michael. Welcome, everyone. Going back, recapping last week's win at TCU. Like always, compliment the hard, good play of TCU. Coach Patterson and his crew do a great job. Proud of my players and coaches to have the resilience to go away from home, start off the game really in a tough way with a strip sack. Gives them great field position. They score the next play. Charge up the crowd, and we respond a little bit, but then end up down 21-7. But in the first quarter, and the guys just kept fighting, kept battling, kept the faith in what we were doing, and we go on a 35 or so run in the second and third quarter. Probably in that stretch of time as good as we have played together jointly as a team. With kicking game, offense, defense, all of it together, we get the pick, to tie it up 7-7, or give us in great field position to tie it up. And then, like I said, we battle through the second, third quarter, build a great lead. And then in the fourth quarter, just really break down a couple of the deep passes, really just preventable. We're not, they rush to the line. We don't have a big enough sense of urgency to get lined up. And one of them, we jumped the fake screen, the sucker play we call it. He jumps it instead of staying deep. Another one, the corner doesn't see the guy lined up outside of him. There's no explaining it. We've got to do a better job here as coaches, players seeing it, get lined up, and be able to play. A couple other instances were just beat. So allow them to come storming back, or not allow them. Listen, TCU got some excellent athletes. That they score a lot of points. They do a great job, moving the ball. So together they come storming back, and then proud of our players, both sides, to finish the game when we had to in the fourth quarter. Offense goes on a 5-minute drive, or close to. I guess they get the ball with about 5.5 minutes. Drive down the field. And we get the late field goal there with a little less than 2 minutes to go. They only have one timeout left. And then defense goes 4 straight plays and out to finish the game. And I thought Obo was sensational with his rushing, in that series. And so come up and make the plays when we had to win a game on the road. And so positive start anyway in the Big 12. Some things, obviously, we've got to keep getting corrected, and we'll keep pushing for that here this week. Tough game always going down to the Cotton Bowl here with our rival Texas. No doubt about it. They're a good football team. They lost a couple of tight games here this year, but they've also won some really good ones. You could tell they continue to play really physical football in the way they run the ball with Foreman and Warren and Stoops as well. All of them, excellent job throwing it downfield. Bouchel's done a great job as a young guy in there for them. Very, tough offense to deal with. They've put up a lot of yards and points. Defensively, still a lot of good physical guys back from a year ago that really play well. Big, talented guys, can run really well, play an aggressive style of defense. And, so it's always exciting, always a challenge. There's no hiding. A year ago, I thought, no question, they were the tougher, more physical football team. So they did a lot better job coaching their guys to be ready to play that way than we did. And hopefully we can do a better job of it here going through this week and play a little better as we get on the field here this week.
What's your injury situation? How long is everybody out for?
Sadly to say, Tay Evans is going to be disqualified from playing anymore. Next year is, from here on out. Just has had some head concussions, and doctors just feel it's in his best interest moving forward not to. And so he's disappointed. We're disappointed for him. For sure. It hurts us, a guy that had been starting and really had an incredible future, but we want the best for him moving forward in his life, first and foremost. Trying to think, Jonathan Alvarez should be back. Let's see here. Will Johnson will still be questionable. Parrish will be back. He'll be back today.
Diamond.
Matt, I don't believe will be back.
Ward.
DJ will be back.
Bob Tay seemed to really be coming into his own emotionally too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
It's a heartbreaker, for a guy that, that's all you've worked for your whole life. He's right here, ready to play, and he just had some instances, obviously, outside of just in the game, and they doctors just, again, feel, just for his long-term health, it's the right thing. So it's really disappointing. We hurt for him too.
When was that decision made?
That decision was made last Thursday night
Is that
when he met with the doctors.
that was like your team doctors come up with that, and they just say there's that independent doctors that he goes to see. I mean,
I believe it's our team of doctors, and his family and all of them together. I'm not in that conversation, so I can't give you the
his family
detail.
was part of the
Yes.
decision and everything.
Bob, how much does that change you because of his style being different than Emmanuel Beal? What does that do to
It
you?
doesn't. Manuel, had a really solid game the other day. Had a couple hiccups, but that's understandable. But really, overall, played hard, played well. And Curtis Bolton.
Even though there's that big a size difference, it's
No, there's not
affecting.
much. He's fine. He's 215, 20 pounds, and can tackle. So he's good. Curtis Bolton's another guy that can play in there.
When Tay found out, how did he take it?
I wasn't there. So.
Have you talked to him?
Yes,
since
I
then?
have, and he's disappointed, but understands, that, he can move forward positively. I gave him the option to be a student coach. We've had other guys. Wayne Chambers is an example that did that. Guy that couldn't play anymore and was with the team and came every day and helped us coach. So I made sure he understood he has that option if that's what he, if he wants to.
Do you think he'll take?
I
take
don't
you
know.
on that?
It's just all happening quickly here.
Did you relay any of your concussion stories to him, or was that too long
No,
ago?
that's
not
yeah,
relevant.
that's too old to get into. No, I didn't.
Does he just go on medical scholarship or something?
Yes,
or-
he had medical scholarship, so he won't count against our 85 next year. But it covers everything, academics and training facility. Everything is covered the same way as an athletic scholarship.
Is Arthur McGinnis someone who can maybe step in, or what?
Arthur right now isn't in a position quite to do that just yet. But, like I said, we've got Emmanuel and Curtis, and John Michael Terry's also been working in there.
Did Bobby Evans get hurt?
A little bit, but he'll be okay.
sorry if I missed this. Jonathan Alvarez back this week.
Should be. I'll know more here as, the next couple of days.
Bob, since we're talking about player health issues and headshots in particular, head safety, you've had two guys take pretty vicious blows against TCU the last 2 years, two critical players. I know you respect Gary, so I don't
Yeah,
expect-
so it just, it has happened the last 2 years that they've had a guy ejected for targeting, and I don't think for a minute that's not Gary, that is not him, or I don't believe anyone's teaching that. It's just happened. And they're that's a tough deal. Those are tough deals. That deal on Joe, that's and Baker. Heck, those can ruin a guy's career. Could put him out for the season. We've done a much better job, I think, overall in football. Of eliminating those, and hopefully it'll keep happening. And again, that isn't Gary at all. I don't believe whatsoever. So.
Bob, you'll be facing a different defensive coordinator on Saturday. Do you game plan? Do you worry about? Does that affect you guys at all in your week preparation?
Well, it'll be something to consider. What they might do differently. Sometimes you can only change so much, but I really believe overall, with all we see through the year, our guys are used to seeing a lot. And we've worked against the odd front, which they see from, our defense about every day. And then we also have worked against the even front, for instance, all last week. So we see both. So I don't know how much you can totally change, but it's something that, we've got to be alert to of what possibly could they do different, that we have to adjust to.
You look at old Florida tape, Louisville tape, where Charlie previously called defenses.
Sure, but a lot of that is still what is a lot of the one high safety stuff is what you see now, and that's what his brand was at Florida and Louisville. 3-man free, 1 high stuff, and then they mix in some 2 deep. And when you look at those tapes, that's what you're going to see.
Bob, you said that Texas did a better job of coaching their players to be more physical in the last few years, or last year definitely. What will you guys do different to make your team more physical for this coming game?
Well, we're not going to go out and scrimmage. I got enough guys hurt, so we're going to practice hard, and hopefully we'll have that kind of attitude and how we take it to the field.
Last year, you said you were disappointed. A rivalry game, your players couldn't get up to.
Hey, that's I'm not out there playing, so players got to decide how important it is to them, and I'm not saying that wasn't important to them last year. Bottom line, we weren't good enough or tough enough, so we'll see if we can be this year.
Charlie said, I think it was Big 12 Media Days in July, he said that's the one game that our guys know we don't have to say anything. It's Oklahoma, so is that the perspective that you take as well?
That has always been the perspective, but I've always, for 17 years, had something to say. But that doesn't mean they're always listening.
Coach, you had concerns a couple weeks back about leadership. Are you starting to see some strides in that area?
Some. It still needs to keep improving.
How much improvement did you see out of Makai Quick Saturday, Bob?
Some. I'm not going to take the late one off of him because of cramping and all. He's taken off the field before that. But, so I still believe there's more there. I saw him make, plays I know he can make. And so overall, I feel he's progressing well, but it needs to keep happening.
I'm sorry.
So.
Bob, you've been favored in this game for the last 7 years. In fact, the last 4, it's been double-digit favorites. You won 4 of 6. So I know.
Here we go with all the 7, 8 years. How long you want to go back? I've been in it a long time.
No, my point is you've won a good percentage of them, but it just makes it appear that there's a vast difference between the two going into that game with how big a favorite you've been. How do you explain that?
I don't know because I don't look at any of that. I don't pay attention to any of that. The bottom line is we're both 2-2 going into this game, so both of us. It's critical for both of us, and how we move forward. So, other than that, I don't pay attention to anything, So.
Is it better sometimes to be an underdog in a situation like this, where maybe you have a chip on your shoulder?
I'd rather be favored by 50 every week, and then that'd be a pretty darn good team. So.
Bob, Dede had a really good game Saturday. Do you think that performance can really kind of boost those guys the rest of the year?
Dede had what he's capable, what hasn't maybe been known. Dede's really finally at full speed. He's been nursing a pull, and the first few weeks he missed a few practices, rested, hadn't been quite. That last week may have been the first week he's been able to go the whole time and full speed, and it showed up, and I hope it'll continue to. He's a guy that really can be a big play guy when he's full speed, and he's, like I said, last week was the first week he's really been at his level.
Bob, historically, the team that rushes for the most yards in this game wins the game. You talk about both sides of the ball, offense and defense. What you guys have to do to have success Saturday?
Yeah, you got to take care of the football. That's always a major issue. You've got to be able to control the ball. Rushing's always a big key in this game. Being physical up front, both sides. Really not just up front, all across the board. I thought last year's game, our tackling was horrible, out in open space, even when it isn't up front. So all of that together, tackling, being physical, when we have the ball, being able to run it, being able to make some of them miss them on occasion and make a big play, it all goes together.
Bob, you brought up the physical. Against TCU in the fourth quarter, you actually, even with that lead, you threw it more than you ran. Looking back on that, do you kind of think it ought to flip the other way? Or?
Well, I don't. I thought Coach Riley's play calling was great. How can TCU doesn't give up 52 very often. So how can you be critical there? I thought when we had to in the fourth quarter in that 5-minute drive, we did run it well. Even some of the 3-4 yard pickups. I thought through the day it was pretty balanced overall, and so I thought it was good.
The best way to give a team a chance to get back into a game from a big deficit is to give them more time on the clock. and when you call a lot of passes, I think there was 10 passes in the fourth quarter versus 7 runs. Completed 8 of them, so executed the plays. But there's that risk that you run of an incomplete pass, giving the team the ball with more time left. Is that
There's also that risk of going three and out, handing it off 3 straight times. You don't use a whole bunch of clock when you go 3 and out, whether you're running it or not. So that's the other side of it. It's also, so that's what you have to balance.
You guys seem to go tempo a little bit early
I
on.
thought even the last call, Coach Riley asked, do I want to run it, make them burn their last time out? I think the slant will be there. Well, slant's there, wide open. Hits us in the chest, we don't catch it. I'm not going to second guess that call. If he's going to be that open, I'll do it 10 more times. I bet we catch 10 of them. We didn't catch that one. It's the way it went.
What do you have to do to close teams out? You guys had a big lead at TCU. You talked about they let them back in. So what are the things that are going to have to be done to maintain those kind of leads?
Yes, you got to continue to play well, just like we did in the second. To come up with your stops, keep the ball, execute plays. Third and 4, catch the slant. Third down on defense, come up with a sack like we did on the last series.
How did your defensive line play?
Really good. I thought they were great against the run. They got great pressure, knocked down a bunch of balls. I thought, it was one of their best. Matt played really good. I should have. Matt played really well. The players of the game were Obo and Steven Parker, but Matt played really well. One of his better games. Offensive players of the game were Dede Westbrook and Joe Mixon, and special teams were Austin Seibert and Nick Basquin.
Last year, Jay Norvell had taken over the offense, and it's kind of surprising to see the package with Stoops. Now that you've had time to go over that more, does it make it easier to plan for him this year, or is it still just as big a challenge as ever?
Well, it's still a challenge. Like you weren't surprised last year. You knew it was coming. We didn't always first tackle very well, and or times we were out of position. So we'll learn from that. Yeah, some of what we did, try and adjust it some. It's still a challenge though when you have designed plays, with a quarterback that way. Just like you saw when we had Blake Bell or other people have had in those occasions, it becomes a numbers game. You got an extra blocker, which he's talked about a lot when the quarterback's running instead of handing it off.
You guys, though, you would put Blake in short yardage situations mainly, so it was if people kind of knew it was situational with the way they're running, Baylor's offense, and then bringing him in. There's such a stark difference in offenses. Does that make it more challenging?
Yeah, it does. Because of his ability to throw to go along with, all the power sets and the way he runs the ball. So it'll be a challenge for sure.
How much has the poor tackling, because it's been consistent throughout the year, how much of it is not as fundamentally sound as you'd like, and how much of it is just intensity? And
I wouldn't say intensity. Sometimes it gets down to also athleticism out there in space, and we showed it for a good part of the game where we tackled well. So I just being more consistent with it.
Show them the statistics from the previous 3 games against Texas. Will you show them 3 yards per carry?
I'll show them last year's. We already have, before we started the season. But the year before doesn't have anything to do with now, with guys that are on this team. Plus, I think we had a 31-19 lead with about 2 minutes to go in the game when they scored their last touchdown. I know everyone statistically, they killed us, and but I'll take a 31-19 lead every single day with 2 minutes to go, and you give you more yards or more whatever. When you lose possessions with a kick return, interception return, they're going to have more yards and you're going to have less. And you're going to have less first downs and they're going to have more when you give up 2 possessions in a game.
What do you remember about Shane Buechele through the recruiting process, and how do you think he's fared through the first 4 years?
He's done great. He's an excellent quarterback and excellent athlete. I know we recruited him initially, and then once Austin Kendall, became our guy, that was generally get 2 quarterbacks in a recruiting class. So that's just kind of how it fell and worked out. But he's an excellent athlete, throwing the ball great. It's perfect for what they're doing.
Talking about Buechele and Stoops, it would seem that Sterling Gilbert has had a real positive impact on that offense. Their new coordinator.
No doubt. You see, having familiarity with it with Baylor, Tulsa, and you see all the same, structure and discipline and how they do it, physicality and how they run it, all of it together. They do a really good job.
But when you're playing well in the second and third quarter, you talk about getting off the field. What exactly were you doing defensively that you're not doing there in the first and fourth quarters?
It's same structure, same calls. It's just it comes down to guys making plays, tackling well, disciplined with our rush or in our coverage. All of it together, just better execution, and that's what we have to keep pushing for, more consistency in how we execute.
It seemed like Saturday you guys brought a lot more rush. Was that just confidence in your secondary, or is there something you saw from TCU?
No, I don't know that we bought that much more occasionally, but I thought our guys did an excellent job getting to him, and we brought a guy here and there, a couple of zone blitzes and man blitzes here and there, but again, the execution was better.
Baker looked a lot more involved in the running game as well. Was that part of playing against TCU, or was that a directive, hey, to make our offense better, we have to get Baker more involved?
No, it's part of just what was there. Those options are there depending on how the defense is playing and how they're defending you, and just he had he did a nice job of pulling it and making some plays, definitely.
Texas really likes to go vertical, part of that Baylor, offensive mindset. Any thoughts moving forward with your guys back there that have been inconsistent?
Just keep practicing, keep getting them better, and and in some occasions too, I thought even our safety could have been in a better position to help on occasion, and they've got to do a better job in a couple of those to give that corner some help.
Who are you going with at that right corner?
We'll see. We'll go through the week like we always do. But again, I thought Micaiah Quick made a lot of good strides. Can make more, but made some good plays as well.
It seemed like Ben Powers plugged in there really well. Was that the way he played, maybe the way Dalton played, give you an opportunity to maybe rotate those guys a little bit more?
Probably. Bill does an awesome job, with those guys. And I thought the line, I should have mentioned that with a bunch of, guys moving around and having to replace Jonathan, did a great job. I thought, the first quick pressure was a blitz, and probably should have unloaded it sooner, but other than that, it wasn't like they got quick pressure, and a few times when they did get to us, it was more coverage sacks, or coverage pressure, so they did a really good job and rushed the football for what I think over 250 yards. That's always going to be good, so I thought they did a nice job. But yes, those guys ought to be able to help be a little more interchangeable.
Walker had a couple of passes batted down Saturday. What do you like that you've seen out of him?
Charles is a really good player. I thought had one of his better games, and is an active guy. He's very talented. He's got a lot of size, quickness to him. And he's good to see him. Get that big reach up there and knock a few balls down. It's important. We should be doing that with a lot of those short throws.
Talk a little about Joe's continued development in the past game. He had a big third down catch on
that was
third
huge.
ball.
Yeah, Joe. It was a great play by Baker to give him a chance to get to that ball, and then it just shows Joe's ability, even as a running back, to adjust, come back, and make a big play there on third down to keep that drive going. But it just again shows you the athleticism he has.
Coach, how are you guys able to keep some of the outside negativity outside of the program and get these guys ready for TCU?
Well, I always say this. You think these guys are sitting there watching TV all day, reading everything you guys are reading? They're in class all day, and then we see them. They're in football. We're not. You have no idea how little of that we see or hear, and so it's. I don't think it's very hard.
Is it harder in the social media world? I mean, that's one place.
Well, I can't say what they're reading on their social media, but if they are, that's their fault.
Cyber had a really good game. Saturday.
Great game. Yeah, Big 12 special teams. I should have mentioned that. Player of the Week.
I mean, I had a tough game against Ohio State. You kind of told us, you told him how much faith you had in him.
I just saw him over in the team room too, and told him again. He's a great kicker. I'm telling you, punter, kicker. That guy is so talented, and everyone I think is going to see it as we go through the year and in his years here. I mean, he is as talented a guy with his leg as any I've been around in my time in football. So I hope it'll keep happening for him that way it should. And he has a great demeanor about him in how he, prepares and, how he handles everything.
Was there never consideration given to backing him away from, say, kickoffs?
Yeah, Coach Boulware's talked about that. It's just, are we able to get comfortable with someone taking that from him? And his defense and maybe missing the one at Ohio State, or even starting the early at Houston. He's doing a lot, and he's a young guy. So you have to give him a little bit of, he's got to be able to perform. But you do understand he's busy, with all that he does. But look at that the other day. How many kicked out of the end zone? Even the ones that weren't into the breeze were to the goal line with great hang time. Punted 43 yards I think he averaged. Was solid with every was field goal. So I mean that's a big day.
Bob, over the years, Oklahoma players or Texas players have really disliked each other in this rivalry. Do you get the sense, and you've been here a long time now, has it changed, or is there still a dislike that there used to be?
I don't know. I don't recall always knowing that there was dislike, but in the end, I'm not real sure.
Bob, what's your favorite and least favorite part about this week?
I don't have a least favorite. It's always exciting. The game. Being able to go down there and play. To go out and compete in that arena and that venue it's exciting. It's as good as it gets.
To piggyback on Al's question, you think things have changed because it used to be guys you heard of guys but you didn't really know them personally, but now a lot of these guys probably going to camps together, growing up as being identified as good football players, and maybe just the relationship is different.
Maybe that's probably fair to say. I don't. I'm not with them, to say that that's the case, but that may be the case.
Bob, Oklahoma State blocked 3 kicks against Texas in the first half last week. What can you glean from that as far as maybe getting an advantage in special teams and getting? Well,
obviously you pay attention to it, and it gives your guys added motivation to try and do the same thing, of course. But that's something you have to really watch.
You like the way Samaje can close out a game just by controlling the ball.
I like the way Samaje not only close out a game, he does everything. A great runner. And I said this, I think, on my show yesterday with Dean, that I think, too, he's just now coming back into his form after, missing so much. And so he misses all spring and summer. He finally gets on the field in 2-a-days, but you're not in live action. And you say, well, put him in live. Well, I'm not putting him in a scrimmage and someone hurt his ankle, knee. You can't do that. So to get live, full, speed action, I thought he's really starting to show that again this past week of running out of tackles and making people miss them and, doing what he's capable of doing. I just, it takes time. Everyone thinks, oh, he's back on the field, he's the same. Well, there's an art to what he does, and I think you have to be in those moments for him to continue to, to get that feel back.
Was he okay in the fourth quarter on Saturday?
Yeah.
Just noticed he only got 1 carry. And he's kind of a closer.
I thought we moved the ball pretty good, so Joe was doing okay too. So I think they both ended up 17 and 16 carries. So.
I think I asked you this before just because you get so many people that ask you or tell you or want you to use Joe Mixon more, but is the way that game played out a good example of why you just can't give Joe the ball time? Because Samaje really seems to loosen up a defense, especially early in games.
Yeah, come on. I mean, that's yes. I mean, that guy's as good as there is in the country. So, you've got to try and find, each of them a good balance. They keep each other fresh. If it's one guy doing all of it, who knows if there aren't cramping issues or whatever. So in the end, they each had 100 yards or more. I mean, it's pretty solid. I thought it's good.
In reality, there was talk about him getting 20 touches. He ended up with, I think, over when you consider a couple of kicks. So you got him the ball, I guess, as you hoped.
I think he had 4 or 5 receptions. He, carried it 17. He, punts and kickoffs. He has a full day.
The way you played in the second and third quarter, was that something, did your team need to prove to itself what it was capable of? Is it a better team going forward?
Probably, it's a young season still, and I, that's been my drive. Is I just felt we haven't played to our potential, and even if we played to our potential, we may have still lost. But you as a coach, you want at least, play to what you're able to, what your ability is, and I just felt we hadn't. And in that period of time, I thought we were. We were really, playing that way, and we got to keep just pushing for more consistency with it.
So what has to happen this week to prevent, against Texas, to prevent what happened last year?
Just what I said. We got to play a lot more physical, both, everywhere, not just up front. We've got to tackle better. We've got to be able to offense, make them miss us and make some big plays, execute and take care of the football. That's always a major factor in this game as well.
Was there a reason that Jarvis Baxter didn't get any playing time on Saturday?
No. Like I said, I say it all the time. Guys that, do everything through the week, play who we feel is the best option to win. So that'll be the case 3 weeks from now, 5 weeks from now. Anyone who doesn't play, that's the reason.
We're getting questions about Samaje and Joe's touches, and I just want to ask, hopefully artfully, Mark Andrews' question. Is it just
like that artfully.
do what I can. Is it just you've got a lot of options, you call an offense as well as you can. Some days he's going to get 2 catches, some days he's going to get more, but do you want to go to him, make an effort to create?
Always.
Yeah.
But the offense isn't designed, depending on how they're defending you, to force the ball to any one person. It doesn't work real well that way. So, Mark's always a great option for us, and thought we had a touchdown to him, and he actually turned around and sort of just kept running, and he might have had one. So, no, Mark does an awesome job, and he's always a major factor in what we're doing.
Could he ever be a guy that I think of how many catches Jermaine Gresham got, how many catches Trent Smith got at one time in this program? The offenses may not be the same, but I mean, could he catch, maybe not this season, but could he catch 50 balls in a season? Could he do that?
I mean, that could happen. I think in Jermaine's time was a different offense. You could get more, designed in the way we were doing things then. So that's a little bit tougher to compare. Trent was in a similar situation, that similar, obviously, offense, and so that it could possibly happen.
How beat up is Baker, and is he good
sore.
for practice? Is he good for practice and everything?
I don't think he's going to go today, but we have a light day today, and so we'll rest him. But he'll be fine by Tuesday, Wednesday, and get his work.
First time he's missed, though, isn't it, the practice?
Yeah.
When did you know Saturday that he'd be okay?
As soon as I got to the locker room, they took him in ahead of us leaving for half, and I found him right away on the table there right as we came in, and they had already checked him out, and they had said he was going to be fine.
We were talking to Mike last week, and he was saying that he preferred that the way football was played 10 or 15 years ago. And I'm just curious, as a defensive guy, do you prefer that as well?
Hey, it doesn't matter what I prefer. I prefer to football the way it is. That's fine. You just got to keep, rolling with it, adjusting to it, and it doesn't really matter, what I prefer. This is how it is, and you got to keep going with it and adjusting to it.
All right, thank you.